Welcome to the Knowledge Seeker channel. The channel is dedicated to exploring critical issues in the world. This presentation is titled What President Bola Ahmed Tinubu Should Do Immediately. This map shows the 36 states of the Nigerian Federation. Ending Bad Governance in Nigeria was the title of the campaign carried out by Nigerians who protested against bad governance in the country 2 weeks ago. This is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu of Nigeria, the current head of state. The purpose of this presentation is to suggest specific actions the president can take to stop citizens' anger, reduce hunger, fight corruption, eradicate insecurity, restructure the country, and enhance the economy. To do so, 18 specific steps or actions are suggested here to assist the president in ameliorating the conditions that are provoking anger among Nigerians as economic hardship grips the country. So please follow me as we go through the 18 specific suggestions. 1. President Tinubu should speak to Nigerians about the issues raised. A. President Tinubu should speak to Nigerians about the fundamental issues that are driving Nigerians to protest against his government instead of focusing on the generality of his policies. B. He should specify immediate actions or steps that are being taken to address hunger, high inflation, the falling naira value, the high cost of fuel and food items, and insecurity. C. He should spell out what ministries or government agencies that are responsible for handling the actions or steps being taken. 2. Enhance the communication style of the administration. The Tinubu administration suffers from the inability to communicate effectively, just like the Buhari administration. Hence, it is unable to communicate in a manner that informs Nigerians clearly about his policies and actions. Administration officials who are responsible for communicating information to the Nigerian people compete for attention rather than cooperate to develop common policy goals and actions. This leads to misinformation and miscommunication, resulting in contradictions and confusion. This contributes to the perception of incompetence and lack of coordinated leadership. What should be done? A. The president should put his administration in order by calling a meeting and ordering his staff to speak with one voice on policies and actions approved by him. B. He should make it clear to his staff and advisors that no information should be spread to the public without first being reviewed by a communication committee. C. President Tinubu claimed to be a Democrat. If that is the case, he should hold press conferences regularly and speak to the Nigerian people directly. So far, he shows weakness rather than courage by failing to speak to Nigerians and answer questions. A press conference would allow him to interact with journalists and Nigerians. it will enable him to explain his policies and actions directly to the people. D. The administration should stop relying on pre-recorded information as the basis for disseminating presidential information. It is believed that if he speaks directly, the image of his administration will be enhanced. 2. He established a tradition of holding a press conference once a month to inform the Nigerian people about what the administration is doing to alleviate their suffering. F. On the other hand, his media aides should make press statements at least twice a month to clear the air about any doubtful situation in the country. So far, the administration seems to create more doubt in the minds of Nigerians by being very dodgy instead of being frank about the circumstances in the country. 3. Stop blaming political enemies for the anger and protests in the country. One reason President Tinubu and his officials have not been able to address Nigerian people candidly is because of the false narrative that protests and demonstrations are sponsored by political enemies of the administration, thereby ignoring the financial and economic hardship that is increasing hunger and anger. As a result, instead of speaking to the Nigerian people directly by holding press conferences where the president addresses the issues, the administration seems to focus its energy on ferreting out the enemies. This is unfortunate and complicates the situation. For instance, first, the administration blamed the Igbos for instigating the protest. Second, the administration blamed opposition political parties for sponsoring the protest to remove the government from power. Third, the administration shifted focus to blame foreign countries. Fourth, the administration blamed some Nigerians in the diaspora for sponsoring the protests. Fifth, the administration refuses to acknowledge that some of his policies are contributing to severe hunger, high cost of food and fuel, and massive corruption that is causing hunger and anger. It is this orientation in thinking that compels the president and his officials to focus more on tackling those who are sponsoring protests instead of addressing the issues that cause anger. The failure to address the immediate pressing issues such as extreme hunger, high cost of living, and lack of social welfare programs for the citizens is generating anger to the point where some people turn to violence and destruction of property. F. Please stop blaming political enemies and find a way to solve the hunger problem in the country. 4. Stop telling stories and narratives that are manipulative and deceitful. A. President Tinubu must reckon with the Nigerian people by telling his officials to stop providing narratives that are inherently manipulative, confusing, and false. For instance, the president told Nigerians on May 29, 2023 that fuel subsidy has stopped since the Buhari administration did not budget for fuel subsidy in the 2023 national budget. However, there are Nigerians who believe that fuel subsidy continues. Even Chief Dr. Olusegun Obasanjo and Chief Bode George have stated that the administration is not being frank about whether fuel subsidies have stopped or not. Please clear the air for Nigerians to understand what is happening. Surprisingly, the administration seems to confirm that about 6.8 trillion naira will be spent on fuel subsidies between August 2023 and December 2024. This means that fuel subsidies continue in Nigeria. B. The president informed Nigerians that 750 billion naira was disbursed to the governors of the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory for onward distribution to the citizens as palliatives to mitigate hunger. But some governors have countered the narrative by saying that the funds were World Bank loans and not palliatives. It does not help the administration when information is twisted to create false impressions. See, the false narratives translate into deceitfulness and hypocrisy. Hence, Nigerians are increasingly doubtful about anything the administration says about any issue or policy. It is dangerous to create a situation whereby the citizens do not trust and believe the government. Right now, due to too many false narratives, an increasing number of Nigerians have no faith in the government. Therefore, the administration should enhance its communication system by being more forthright. 5. Cut down the size of the government during hard economic times. A. Reduce the number of ministries and parastatal agencies to reduce the cost of running the government. Why? Too much money is being spent on the national government and high-level officials, and nothing is left to provide services to the citizens. B. Eliminate the offices of the First Lady, First Son of the Federal Republic, and First Daughter as the Iya Oloja of the Federation. Why? Nigeria is not a monarchy, and neither is it a dynasty. Such offices are not included in the Constitution. The Constitution only mentions the office of the President and not those of the First Lady, First Son, and First Daughter. See, too much money is being spent on the political ruling elite and little or nothing on the masses. The members of the ruling elite get richer and the masses get poorer because the national government is not paying attention to the masses. D. Encourage the National Assembly to reduce its expenditures, especially the huge benefits that cannot be defended publicly. 6. Increase domestic refining of oil and cut off oil imports. A. Supply sufficient crude oil to the Dangote refinery to jumpstart the domestic refining of petroleum products in Nigeria. B. Ensure that by 3 months, the 4 national refineries, that is, the Port Harcourt, Eleme, Warri, and Kaduna refineries start to refine petroleum products to compete with Dangote refinery and others in order to stabilize the supply of oil and gas in Nigeria. C. Stop the importation of refined petroleum products. It is shameful that an oil-producing country like Nigeria cannot refine its own crude oil. That must stop immediately. D. Prosecute those Nigerians who have been sabotaging the national refineries from being functional. E. Investigate, arrest, and prosecute those Nigerians who have been engaged in massive oil bunkering of crude oil in the country. F. Investigate and prosecute those Nigerians who have a refinery in Malta that blends petroleum products to increase their profit by sending inferior refined oil to Nigeria. This is the headquarters of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation in Abuja. This is one of the Nigerian refineries that has been left idled. This is another one of the Nigerian four refineries. 7. The president must stop being the Minister of Petroleum Resources. It is necessary for the president to immediately give up being the Minister of Petroleum Resources in Nigeria. Why? Because it creates a conflict of interest since President Tinubu is extensively involved in the oil business in Nigeria. He cannot be an impartial minister because of his private oil business. A. Appoint a qualified and competent individual to become the Minister of Petroleum Resources. B. Abolish the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited. It is mired in corruption and is a threat to the national security of the country by helping to sabotage the refining of petroleum locally. C. Let the Ministry of Petroleum Resources be responsible for the management of petroleum and gas in Nigeria. D. Order the installation of meters so that Nigerians can know the quantity of oil being produced daily. It is shameful that after more than 60 years of oil exploration, Nigeria does not know the quantity of oil being produced daily. E. Launch a program to clean the Niger Delta south of the oil pollution that has devastated the oil region. 8. Create social welfare programs for Nigerians. Currently, Nigeria, a country with more than 220 million people, has no single social welfare program that the citizens can benefit from in times of hardship. So what must be done? A. Establish a national healthcare system in which the citizens can receive subsidized healthcare. Right now, only the ruling elite have a subsidized healthcare system where they are flown overseas when they and their children are sick. B. Establish an effective food assistance program where citizens can be subsidized with food cards to buy food if they meet the criteria or standards. C. It is time to establish free primary and secondary school education throughout the entire Nigeria. D. Establish a subsidized national housing program to reduce homelessness. 9. Palliatives should go directly to the citizens. Any federal government palliative program for the citizens must go directly from the federal government to the citizens. There is no need to send money or foodstuff through the governors to the citizens. The reason is that Nigerians are citizens of the country, and the federal government should deal with them directly when distributing palliatives or any social welfare program. The Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs should be able to get the national identification numbers and banking information of citizens through the establishment of a data bank of Nigerians. 10. Take proactive steps to stop corruption. The president can help himself by enhancing his image by taking proactive action to stop corruption in the country. Right now, Nigeria is like a basket filled with holes. Hence, whenever water is poured into the basket, it flows out immediately because of the holes. Due to the massive corruption, whatever funds that are generated disappear into the private accounts of elected and appointed high government officials. As a result, most of the so-called billionaires and millionaires acquire their wealth through pilfering from the public treasury. The country cannot move forward if President Tinubu does not take serious action to stop corruption. What must be done to reduce corruption? A. Sack all officials that have alleged cases of corruption against them until they prove otherwise. B. Stop recruiting alleged corrupt individuals into high-level government positions. C. Sack all corrupt judges and sanitize the judiciary. Right now, the Nigerian judicial system has collapsed. This is why judges give contradictory decisions on the same cases. B. Send federal auditors to audit all funds sent to the states to provide relief to the citizens. It is the responsibility of the federal government to make sure that national funds dispersed to the states and local governments are properly accounted for. E. If any public official is unable to account for funds spent, the individual must be prosecuted if the funds are not returned. F. The cabals that are responsible for siphoning off public funds and inhibiting the economic growth of the nation must be investigated, arrested, tried, and sent to prison if necessary. G. Stop the idea that some Nigerians are more powerful than the state, hence are above the law and cannot be arrested or prosecuted. Nigerians are watching to see if the EFCC and the Nigerian police force will arrest and prosecute Bello, the former governor of Kogi State, for alleged corruption. H. Stop election rigging. Right now, most elected public officials in Nigeria have no credibility because they either rigged the elections or were put into power through the judiciary. Increasingly, it is judges that elect people to elective offices in Nigeria and not the voters. This is sad for democracy. 11. Stop borrowing money to fund government operations in Nigeria. It is necessary to stop the voracious appetite for borrowing loans to run the government. Otherwise, Nigeria might owe so much debt to the extent that it might suffer from a debt trap leading to the disintegration of the country. What should be done? A. Instead of continuing to borrow, give political backing to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission to seriously go after embezzlers and force them to return all the looted funds. B. If 2/3 of the national wealth that has been embezzled by public officials and contractors is returned, the country's financial situation will improve remarkably. C. There is no need to borrow money from abroad when Nigeria should do everything possible to recover the hundreds of billions of dollars that have been stolen from the public purse by current and former public officials. This is the building of the Nigeria's National Assembly. 12. The reforming of the national and state assemblies. Since both the National Assembly and the state assemblies have failed to play the roles of the second branch of the government, the protector of the public purse, and serve as oversight body to watch and check on the excesses of the executive branch, it is of no significance to Nigerians. Moreover, it is cesspool of corruption and wastefulness. It is difficult to tell whether the members, both at the House of Representatives and the Senate, represent any Nigerian, as they feast on the public wealth without any accountability. They are not truthful enough to tell Nigerians how much they earn. The state assemblies are simply a waste of the people's funds and should be abolished also. This is a session of the National Assembly. 13. Launch a national industrialization program. A. The president should invite the owners of auto industries and other manufacturing businesses in Nigeria to a meeting and establish public-private sector partnerships to industrialize the country. Thus, through subsidization, Innoson Motors, IMC Motors, Marsilia Motors, Monaplex Industries, and other manufacturing companies should be encouraged to open manufacturing plants in the 6 political zones where various auto parts and auto brands are built to create jobs. For instance, while Nnewi serves as the industrial capital of Nigeria, establish auto plants that specialize in building different automobiles in different parts of the country. B. One plant should specialize in building specialized expensive luxury vehicles. C. Another branch in a different political zone should build agricultural vehicles. D. A third branch should specialize in building passenger buses. E. A fourth branch should specialize in building trucks. F. 2 industrial plants should be devoted to developing and building military and police vehicles. Such strategic location of manufacturing plants would contribute to the immediate industrialization of Nigeria. G. Apply the National Security Clause of the Constitution to pass an emergency law that prohibits the importation of foreign vehicles for government services at all levels of government. In other words, make sure that the federal government and the states use Nigerian-made vehicles in the country. This is a strategic plan to industrialize as well as generate employment for thousands of Nigerians throughout the 6 zones. 14. Pay less attention to the IMF and the World Bank. President Tinubu should learn from the protests in Nigeria, Kenya, and Bangladesh and pay less attention to the recommendations of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank if he wants to continue to remain in power. These two multinational financial organizations have developed a systematic pattern of recommending to developing countries that have debt problems to privatize, cut funding for education, social welfare, healthcare, and increase taxes on goods and services. These measures often penalize the citizens by creating hardship, hunger, and poverty, thereby antagonizing the citizens to protest. To reduce reliance on World Bank and IMF loans to run the government, President Tinubu must tighten public expenditure by traveling overseas less and not spending lavishly on items that do not contribute to economic development. Quite often, privatization ends up enriching the rich and depriving the masses. It is unfathomable for a government to cut social welfare programs that benefit the masses, especially women and children. Why? Because even the most advanced capitalist countries like the US, Japan, Britain, Germany, France, and so forth have extensive social welfare programs for their citizens. So, why can't Nigeria subsidize its citizens in order to stabilize society? 15. Reject the security system. The primary goal of any government is to protect lives and property. Right now, Nigeria is like a country without police and military forces and intelligence services. Hence, bandits, kidnappers, and herdsmen kidnap and kill Nigerians at will without the security forces being able to stop them. In some parts of Nigeria, Benue, Kaduna, Katsina, Ondo, Plateau, Taraba, and Zamfara states, the non-state armed elements operate like government authorities without the federal government being able to stop them. The ruling elites do not seem bothered by the reckless kidnappings and killings of Nigerians. The insecurity threatens the national security of the country because farmers cannot go to their farms, leading to food shortages, high food prices, and hunger. What should be done? A. Sack any police, military, and intelligence officer who colludes with violent gangs to cause insecurity. B. Recruit more people into the Nigerian police force and the armed forces. C. Form a military division that focuses exclusively on eradicating the non-state armed elements that are threatening Nigerian security. D. Increase the salaries of police officers and members of the armed forces. E. Officers who embezzle police and military funds should be prosecuted. F. The president should address the Nigerian people about his plans to eradicate or reduce insecurity in the country. 16. Restructure Nigeria. Nigeria is gradually breaking down. The reason is that the colonially induced Nigeria, which is a British creation, no longer works for the country. Thus, Nigeria must be restructured. Therefore, President Tinubu should actively support this restructuring of the country by doing one or two of the following. A. Convene a restructuring constitutional conference based on the suggestions of the patriots. B. Activate the recommendations of the 2014 Constitutional Conference. C. Work to pass legislation calling for a referendum. 17. The president should drastically reduce foreign travels. President Tinubu should drastically reduce traveling overseas and stay home to fix Nigeria's problems. It does not make much sense for a Nigerian president to travel outside the country every month instead of staying home and working with the Nigerians to fix the problems that confront the country. Going all over the world to beg for financial assistance is simply a waste of time. It shows a lack of foresight and creativity. Stay home and fight corruption so that all stolen public funds are retrieved. It should be noted that former President Buhari traveled all over the world and the situation did not get better for Nigeria. 18. The Nigerian security forces would be overwhelmed if nothing is done to calm hungry Nigerians. President Tinubu and his advisors should not assume that Nigerian security forces will be able to contain Nigerians if they decide to rebel against his government. Why? Because Nigeria has over 220 million people. If 2 or 3 million Nigerians pour onto the streets, they would easily overwhelm the security forces. Moreover, there is so much illegal arms in the country, and protesters can easily arm themselves if the security forces use excessive force against them. The reason is that the number of police officers and military personnel in the country is insufficient to contain an angry population that is driven to change the government if nothing is done to ameliorate the hunger and the anger necessitated by bad governance. Thus, to avoid the situation generating to a full-blown revolution, President Tinubu must speak directly to Nigerians and identify the specific actions he is taking to ameliorate the hunger in the country. As Chief Dr. Olusegun Obasanjo says, Nigeria sits on a keg of gunpowder and immediate action is needed to calm the population. In conclusion, Nigeria has become a big joke in the world. Therefore, the president must act fast to reduce hunger in the country. He must quickly do the following. 1. Speak to Nigerians directly and respond to their questions. 2. Institute means to drastically reduce corruption, especially the embezzlement of public funds. 3. Ensure that Nigerian refineries start to refine petroleum so that oil imports are stopped. 4. Cut down on spending for high government officials. 5. Declare an uncompromising war on insecurity. It is strongly believed here that if President Tinubu adopts the 18 measures listed above, he will reverse the retrogressive trend that is threatening the survival of Nigeria. He will also reboot the vigor of his administration, thereby rekindling national support for his administration. Otherwise, history will judge him and his administration harshly. It should be noted that after the End Bad Governance protest, Nigerians have increasingly become or come to realize that they have tremendous power. In short, they realize that power lies with them and not with the public officials who act arrogantly with impunity. Thank you for listening to this presentation. Please subscribe to the channel and listen to other captivating presentations.